As we continue to study through the Bible at the heroes of the faith, we noticed last time that we looked at a time when God's people were going away to worship various idols. And God sent prophets to preach to them to return, to repent, and return to God. But they failed to listen to him. And so God finally sent the Babylonian nation to take the children of God into captivity. And they were in captivity for 70 years. And 4 of those early captives were Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. 4 young Jewish men who were strong in their faith. And from early on they decided they would not stoop to follow the rest and worship the idols of the Babylonians, but they were going to be faithful to God. And because of that, the Babylonians recognized them, and they were given great privilege and authority. The 3 that we're going to be looking at today are the ones always mentioned together: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And we're going to be studying them and to see how faithful they were, even in a very difficult time. Time was indeed very difficult for them. They lived in a time when King Nebuchadnezzar built up a massive statue to himself, and he ordered that all the people, when they heard the sound of musical instruments, were to bow down and worship the statue. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not worship this idol built to man. They would only worship the one true God. So we pick up the passage in the book of Daniel in chapter 3, and we'll read verses 4 through 6. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "To you the command is given, O people, nations, and men of every language, that at the moment you hear the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, tigron, psaltery, bagpipe, and all kinds of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. But whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire." Well, of course, the faithful Jewish young men would not fall down to this false idol, and it became known to the king, and he became enraged at the fact that they would not do this. And he ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were brought before him and asked, "Well, why are you not doing this? If you don't, you will be cast into the burning furnace." Notice in Daniel 3, verses 16 to 18, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Of course, this enraged King Nebuchadnezzar. How could these 3 slaves defy him? And he ordered the furnace to be heated up 7 times hotter than normal, and that these 3 be thrown into the depths of the furnace. It was so hot that the guards were immediately consumed by the fire, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego tumbled down into the furnace. Well, it didn't end as Nebuchadnezzar had expected. He expected them, of course, to be burnt up, just like the soldiers were. But that wasn't to be the case. Notice in Daniel 3:25, Nebuchadnezzar, he said, "Look, I see 4 men loosed and walking about in the midst of the fire without a harm, and the appearance of the 4th is like the son of the gods." Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the furnace of blazing fire. He responded and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, come out, you servants of the Most High God, and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the midst of the furnace. Now you'd expect these men to at least be singed, if not burnt. but their clothes were perfect. There wasn't even the smell of burning upon them, and they were all amazed. Verse 28, Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who put their trust in him, violating the king's command, and yielded up their bodies so as not to serve or worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make a decree that any people or nation or tongue that speaks anything offensive against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their house reduced to rubbish heap, inasmuch as there is no other God who is able to deliver in this way. What an outstanding story that is. It took 3 men to be faithful and stand up for what they believed in. And the great king Nebuchadnezzar, an idol worshipper, a pagan, recognized the power of God and protected the people of God because of these 3 faithfulness. Well, of course, the lesson is there for us. We just need to trust in God today and be faithful to God, and He will watch over us. He will care for us. We can trust that because we read it in the Bible, and that's how God has dealt with His people since the beginning of time. Thank you once again for being with us, and come back regularly to watch further videos as we study through the Bible.